Hello, dear friends. Charlie Watt has dropped a lot of important information. I don't want to jump the gun until there is confirmation. And it is that caution that has put me off. But his latest update is very hopeful. Heavenly music could mean fancy words and empty promises, which have no substance or utility. But it could also mean real music from the angles or the white hats. Opinion piece. Celestial music. We are at the climax. We have already passed the knot. This will be a historic year. The next financial step. There are no dates but pulls. Details of a master plan. Alice in Wonderland. Serving humankind is the goal. Cash will not disappear. The new system will continue to use cash. There will be direct account-to-account transfers. Only the battery set wants to eliminate cash. Orcs have been left without a general or army. QFS wouldn't work without the financial restart or reset. No transfers systems will be needed. No gold certificates have been activated yet. This will happen when the QFS fixes the price of gold. Intelligence gurus are being duped. Fake news is part of the military deception. There will be no millionaires but humanitarian projects. The aim is to develop solidarity, not greed. There will only be bond swaps for humanitarian projects. Banking system will become obsolete due to lack of funds. Our mass awakening is the dark side's greatest fear. Most SKRs or custodial receipts will not be funded. Only coalition-approved banks will redeem foreign currencies. Let's start. While almost all sources of information are silent, Don Carlos de Marbella says we are in the most exciting phase of the process, but we cannot rely on any dates because deception is part of the coalition's financial strategy. He adds that banks have liquidity in the new system and that there are banks down at the moment, 3 banks, although he doesn't specify which ones, which is very strange. It all seems to be a covert operation. Disclosures. Don Carlos reveals that Russia has already gone through this process and has done well despite news reports that Putin is about to die. India, China and Russia are doing very well with their gold-backed currencies, and these 3 countries account for half the world's population. Don Carlos assures us that the White Hats are in full control and therefore what we are seeing would be a pantomime being played out. The power of evil is gone, and the Orcs are left without general or army, while the power of God prevails. Now is a great opportunity for every living thing to choose which side it is on. The new financial system is being installed as we speak, and there is a talk of early June. When people start to see the fall of the old setup, they will start asking a lot of questions. But right now you can't tell them anything because they are a closed book. There will be a media collapse because they have already chosen their side and consummated their actions. God wins every time, of course. A climax is the highest point of culmination of a process, or the moment of maximum tension in the development of a dramatic action. How long do you trust it to me? as Don Juan Tenorio asked, difficult to answer, but Don Carlos, the well-informed, dares to mention a maximum of a fortnight which would take us to the beginning of June, but I repeat that we cannot rely on any date, because deception is part of military strategy. If we were so close to liquidity, he adds that the setting resident would be taken to a nursing home. Charlie Ward. Charlie Ward has been a rising figure on the internet since he was revealed as one of the people who is distributing the gold that will be used with every country to back its currency in the very near future. He is a very well-known figure in the business world, legally transferring physical currency from many top administrators and governments. Charlie is an incredible world patriot. Born and raised in Ipswich, England, he has several connections to the banking industry and the launch of the new financial system. Charlie is incredibly positive and uplifting. He has inside information on the movement, and we have come to respect him greatly as a leader in his great awakening. Previously, Dr. Charlie Ward was married at the early age of 18. Although details of the wife are not disclosed, the couple had 3 children. Later, they separated due to personal choices. Ward is currently married to a Turkish woman named Narcel, has 4 children, and lives in Marbella, Spain. He was born on 8th June 1960 in England. Charlie worked in several countries and ran the hotel business with joint ventures. He retired from this profession at the beginning of 2005. Later, Ward started his official ideas to build the contact in order to manage the business of transferring currencies. He has been part of it for more than 60 years. Next step. The next financial step, according to Ron Giles, who is the best informed man on the QFS, is that the banks have been connected to the new quantum financial system, and that it is now working with the help of the banks. The QFS is the new system that the world will use for all financial transactions, large and small. The word "old" doesn't leave out any transactions unless cash is used, because yes, the new digital system will continue to use cash along with normal credit or debit card type transactions. With the QFS in place, the new financial services centers will be added. This will be part of a new financial services industry. It will function like banks, as a service to humankind in all its financial dealings. The entire banking system will become obsolete due to lack of funds. The QFS doesn't support how banks made money. There will be no need for transfer systems because all transfers will be from account to account in the unique structure of the QFS. 2 things make this possible. The first is that all financial accounts are in the same location, in the same quantum brain, so there is no need for transfers to be made by a third party. The transfers are made directly by the person concerned. The second thing is that all currencies have the same value, so there is no need for the Bank of International Settlements that did business in all currency exchanges. Paying invoices is the same easy process. Managers in each company will monitor transfers electronically and will find it easy to keep track of the new way of doing business. The QFS has no time limit to keep data of all transactions because it is permanent, like the Akashic record. When personal income tax disappears, there will be no reason to have all the tax data. Things are changing for the good of humankind. The only thing that will be left will be to pay sales tax on all new, non-essential things, except food, medicines, and some other essential pieces. Gold certificates. No digital gold certificates have been activated in the QFS, not even for the coalition or anyone else. Yes, they are ready, but they are not active yet. That will not happen until the QFS establishes the price it will use for gold. This will determine how much currency will back an ounce of gold. When the QFS sets the gold price, then the digital gold certificates can be activated. To activate the certificate, there has to be a transaction. This transaction will be the redemption by the coalition. Please note that the redemption of valid and documented vouchers, because most of them are fake, will only be done for humanitarian projects approved by the coalition. No one will really know if they are humanitarian until they go to their redemption appointment with a properly documented humanitarian project, where they will be told whether or not they are humanitarian and whether or not they will receive a grant. Most SKRs or safekeeping receipts will not be funded. Coalition-approved banks will do the currency exchanges. This means that there will be no redemption centers, only authorized banks. Those who have done their homework, have the necessary legal papers, and have aligned themselves with the coalition will be happy, but others will curse the gurus who guided them. I have always been appalled when gurus talk about people getting 11 million for 100 billion theme vote. That's not the way the redemption coalition will work. Cash will follow. The dark side wants us to be a cashless society, but that is not what we want. The new system has a way to provide for the use of cash within the QFS. Digital gold certificates are a block of electronic data that represents an increase in cash in the QFS. It is to say dollar, euro, yuan, pound, etc. If you want cash, go to the new financial service centers that will pop up and request cash from your account. They will pass the cash through the allocation machine, and the digital gold certificate will be transferred to the serial number of the cash. You make your purchases using cash, and those who receive it and wish to deposit it into their QFS account will deposit it at a financial services center. The serial number of the cash will be transferred back to the digital gold certificate it came from, and the cash will be out of circulation after you use it. There's your usable cash. Role of banks. Banks have lost their ability to make money. Everything the banks charged us for will be free in the QFS. Therefore, the financial services industry will need a large amount of funds to pay for the new services provided in the new financial services centers. The banks have been cleaned out by the coalition. Certain employees in the banks have proven themselves worthy of participating in the financial services industry and have been or are being trained to practice as if they were bankers, but are employees of the financial services centers. Their training has already begun, but they cannot say so because they signed a confidentiality agreement, non-disclosure agreement. The next step is in front of us if you know the plan. It is developing miraculously. It is fun to know that these things are true because we can keep our frequency high while we are being slapped around the media. Service to humankind is our goal, and that is why we will be chosen to do this work together with the coalition. No dates. According to Ron Giles, the coalition doesn't keep dates or estimated time frames for things to happen. If they do, it is a military deception that is part of the movie. The coalition will continue to withhold dates and date ranges for things to happen. If they let it out, it is military deception. The coalition will continue to allow non-alliance intelligence providers to provide the fake news as part of the movie. The global financial restart must take place before the swap can take place. Military deception is at the root of most of the false information and the resulting frustration. Redemption is not for people to have personal fortunes and become rich. It is for humanitarians to have funds to do their philanthropic work. Things are falling apart and need to be restored after the crisis. That is what is happening now. Chaos is being created by those who don't know the difference. In the cleansing scenes, there is the resolution of the chaos, where one finds the reason for the chaos. The end result presents a clean, clear, factual resolution that makes sense. There is a reason why such events are allowed to take place, but we do not know the strategy. For example, there has been a lot of action as some banks are going under. It looked like the banks would fail and some will eventually, but there is a resolution in the plan that will repurpose what is left on the banks to create a financial services industry that will provide all the essential support we will need for our own needs. This is what the banks and the quantum financial system are doing by working together. This is true, but the way it is said gives the impression that the banks will take over the QFS and not the other way around. This is the master plan for the whole process. This will not be seen until the transition of the new QFS is officially published and we see how the failed banks will become financial services centers. The banks have no money to support financial services centers, so certain humanitarians will help financially in the transition and then continue to fund the whole system as long as the financial service centers serve the interest of the citizens. Does the coalition have a plan in place and do they know how to implement the plan to achieve what is intended for humankind? The answer is yes. The global financial restart is the time when all currencies will become of nominal value to each other. That means they will be equal. This is an important process that will require some gentle maneuvering to achieve, but the QFS will not work without the restart. At the moment, the global financial restart has not yet taken place, so the QFS is not yet functioning in primary banking as a new financial system. The restart must take place before the QFS can be activated publicly. To say otherwise would be to create confusion. The second thing that must take place is the real gold-backed currencies that are represented by digital gold certificates. To create the funds, there must be a coalition-controlled transaction, but such a transaction has not yet taken place, so events cannot be brought forward. The moment the QFS is officially activated, the price of gold will be cemented in time forever and cannot be manipulated as it is now. The value of a kilo of gold will be, or an ounce of gold, will then be known, and a certain number of currency increases can be backed up to match the value of gold. The activation of digital gold certificates will be done through a transaction, but it has not been done yet. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. Rescue from the crisis. To make the way for the introduction of the people-controlled QFS monetary system, the policy is to let the enemy destroy itself, and that is happening now in real time before our eyes. Our mass awakening is the dark side's greatest fear, but we don't know the coalition's strategy. Awakening is breaking out all over the world, but it comes at a price. It may have been difficult and painful to go through the stages to convince others. The challenging circumstances and conditions opening the eyes and minds of the sheep is even more difficult. It is struggle against time and injustice. When truth is known, it is the awakened who must share this knowledge with fervor and passion. It's not always pleasant, but it's an indispensable duty. The hour is late, and the present time is shameful for crisis and delay. Optimal awareness and swift action are required. There is no alternative. The humankind's consciousness is negatively conditioned to see only what separates us rather than what unites us. Believe it or not, we are all very much alike in every respect. We may have different backgrounds and cultures, but we all have the same basic values in life. We all want to be free, healthy, educated, live together in peace, and have access to the basic necessities to sustain life and well-being. All we really want is to be happy and healthy together. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.